Hey there, it's me for a solo video. Today I'm going to talk about a unique topic that a lot of people are like, I've never heard of that. You probably never wanted to hear of that. I is the most interesting topic I never expected to hear about probably in my life. But it's come up recently. I've been reading a unique book called The Legend of Star Crash. I do have a video that I found from the author of that book in the presentation that I'll share so that you can see that. But The Legend of Star Crash is a book that basically talks about this. It's from this woman who is a psychiatrist, and what she does is she does what she calls past life regressions. Now that's a tricky topic. Some people believe in past lives, some people don't. Some people believe we come back again, all that kind of thing. Whatever the situation is on that, that's not the purpose or the point here. The purpose and point is that she goes and when she does this, she's talking to spirits. So whatever spirits are in these people, and it's an interesting. I've been reading several in her series, and she's talking to the spirits in these people, and the spirits in these people, she calls them the SC, the subconscious. Sometimes it's the same one in different people, and it's like completing conversation. So she'll like start the conversation with one person, and they're educating her, and then the same spirit is accessible through a different person. So yesterday she's talking to Tracy, and then tomorrow she's talking to Dennis, and she's still talking to the same spirits that are speaking through these people. It is a weird thing to hear. And she gives her book in testimonies. So through the book, you're hearing her talk to the people and ask them questions about this past life. And then the person is living that life and telling you what they're seeing and telling you about it. And she'll say things like, well, who do you worship? And they say, well, we worship the mother deity. We worship this. And so you get to learn a lot by listening to that. So I am in a process, and just to give you a little preface on that, I'm in a process of understanding for the first time ever, we are literally surrounded by spirits and all kinds of crazy things that I didn't really understand. I would see those videos on TikTok that say, oh, don't watch this music video. They're doing a seance and they're doing witchcraft and they have all these things going on and they're calling to these spirits and stuff. I'm like, that's not real. I took it and I'd say, okay, well, I'll stay away from that music. But for the first time, I'm starting to really recognize and understand, oh, it's like that something exists, but you never really processed it or thought about it. I get it. People say spirits. I mean, I grew up in the church. Yes, spirits, the spirit of this, the spirit of that. But no, it's literally a spirit. It's literally a spirit. And I'm just now starting to process it for the first time and actually go, okay, this is a real thing. There are people walking around with stuff riding. It's just like a rider with them that's living the life along with them. Or in her book, sometimes it talks about these spirits will come inside the person because that person left. So like people have a near-death experience and they seem weird afterwards. It's because it's not them anymore. It's the spirit that took over. So many weird things in her books. But in this, I started to get an understanding of certain things that I was experiencing back in Denver. And so I'm going to tell you a quick story. So back in Denver, I remember having this client. She had paid me like $1,500 or something to write her a bunch of content for her marketing. And she's in health and wellness. This woman went to an event, some sort of retreat or something like that. And then after this retreat, she says, Crystal, we got to scrap everything. And I said, I just finished it all. I'm not getting paid enough to rewrite all that stuff. And I didn't know what to do. It was 2020. I mean, the world was ending in front of me. I had barely had any business. So I was like, maybe I just have to write this lady's stuff again. So I'm like, what do I need to do? She said, well, I'm a starseed. And it's my job to reach other star seeds and awaken them and all this stuff. And I'm like, is that different than health and wellness? I mean, am I not selling health and wellness in this content anymore? Are you doing something else? I'm still doing the same thing, but I'm doing it for star seeds. And I'm like, I don't know these people. I don't know how that's different than selling to a human and a normal person. So she could not explain it to me. I recognized it was her first retreat, so maybe she needed more to learn on her own end. But I did not do any research at that time to figure it out. I do remember back then because I used to host women's networking events and things of that nature. And I remember the name of this lady, Dolores Cannon, being said. I remember these people were researching her. And now, because of this life I'm in currently, and I'm advancing in certain things, and I was ready to start learning these things. Now I'm listening to this lady's book and I get it. I know where these people were getting this from because in the Legend of Star Crash, she's talking about Native Americans. And I know there's all the controversy. Who are the real Native Americans? I know, but she's talking about the ones we know today, who they say are of Asian descent. And those are the ones that she's referring to. And she's saying that this past life or spirit that she was talking to is telling the story of how the Native Americans were a mixture of these alien beings that were pale skinned and light haired, came to the earth and they mated with the Aborigines. It talks about these people having a tough time on the earth. They weren't built for the earth. The earth, actually, the sun, made them sick. They were sickened by being here. They had a difficult time with having babies. They had a difficult time with survival. And it said that when they mixed with the Aborigines, it made them able to survive. And they still were able to keep some of their features down the line and things like that. So it goes through this story, and then she talks in the book about how some of the ancient Native American stories and in other places as well, many ancient stories talk about these star people, these people from the stars, who came here and made children. And so what I'm going to present in a little presentation is just some information. I'm going to show you a few videos that I found to kind of show you this culture of this star seed, because as a person who grew up in the Christian church, we don't talk about any of these things. We don't talk about aliens. We don't talk too much about demons. We need to focus on, we rightly focus on Jesus, Yahusha. We use the term Yahusha, which is his ancient name. There are many pronunciations that people try and use. But we use Yahusha in our household, but we still recognize that Jesus is that same character, the same person that we're referring to. We're talking about Jesus, But yes, it's a good thing to focus on that. But in this spiritual warfare that we're going through right now, there's a lot changing in this world right now. There is a lot being revealed. Literally, singers that you used to like that just sang fun pop are now doing witchcraft on stage with fires and weird stuff. And you're like, what is this? We don't recognize the occult. I know nothing about the occult because I was not an occultist. I thought that understanding those things was not of God. Now, as I've gotten closer to God, he is inviting me to learn about these things and keeping him with it. And my new understanding of these things is literally, it's like the fallen angels that they knew the function of creation. They knew the function of God, but they gave that function, the knowledge of the function of the ethers, the function of the universe, how complex it all is. And they took Yah out of it. They took the information and removed the spirit of the creator. And so when you get into the occult, the problem is you take God out of it. You're learning about all this stuff. You know how to, you might learn to make gold out of rocks, but you had no commitment to the creator, no relationship with the creator, and that's not what he wants. And so in our staying myopically focused on Yahusha, Jesus, and understanding how to be saved, we did not necessarily learn everything we needed to know to understand what's happening around us in this moment, and to understand what these people know and what they're doing and what is going on. So I give you this lesson on Starseeds because there is literally a group of people who have become awakened to themselves, and their history tells them that they are mixture of an alien race. In our Bible, we call them the angels, that came down. They were watchers, came down. Some of her books use the word watcher. Talking about the watchers in her books. I mean, definitely the most fascinating things to read. But she talks about the watchers. They talk about, they sometimes refer to them as alien beings or star beings, whatever have you. There's a whole group of people, a lot of them in Denver. There's a whole group of people who are coming to this understanding that they come from the stars, that they are mixed children, hybrids of human and angels or human and aliens. And if you're not aware of this, you're going to miss something that's happening. And you don't need to know all the details of it, but I just think it's important to just be aware, because I think this stuff is going to come up more, because there are people starting everywhere to start figuring out their own identity. We're all being awakened into our identities and the new understandings of who we are and who each grouping is and how we all fit in everything that's going on. And in the spiritual warfare that's happening, we need to be just have a overall view of all these sorts of things. So all this is just an introduction to know that this exists, and not for you to be focusing on it too much. And I really hope you don't say, "Oh, what is she doing? This is off the beaten course." But I really think it's useful to just have basic awareness. That's it. Not telling you to go focus on it a lot. If you think that you have concerns about the information, or you wonder if you should study it more, or any of that kind of thing, then I would just pray about it. Look to the Father to give you that confirmation in your spirit if this is something that you should or should not look into anymore, and confirm in your spirit if this is or is not real. All right, to the presentation. So this is the definition that I found here of what is a starseed. Humans who come from a special gene pool linked to visits by extraterrestrials. That's literally what it is. And when I looked it up, I saw a lot of stuff about this Pleiades, which is mentioned in the Bible. Pleiades is mentioned there. And I had another one, but either way, from Wikipedia, when you look it up on Wikipedia, there's two explanations, and both of them culminate into basically a starseed is someone that is a child of an extraterrestrial.
The legend of Star Crash is the story of the beginning of the Indian races in America. And it all began with a spacecraft that crashed thousands and thousands of years ago in the Alaska-Canadian region. And it was an expedition of ships that were going by. There were 5 of them going through our solar system. And one of them developed trouble, and they had to land, more or less crashed, and they couldn't take off again. Well, the other ships couldn't stay and help, so they left. After I wrote the book, I spent 3 years researching. I love research. I researched all the Indian legends in America to see if this may have been in there somewhere. And it is. There's a train of the same stories that go through, the stories still being told in the Indian tribes today. And there's a lot of physical things, too, that Indians have that are unique, that go back to this star people.
I'm a starseed. A lot of people ask me, how do I know if I'm a starseed? But nobody seems to ask, what is it like to be a starseed? Starseeds are alien consciousness born into human bodies. Because of our unique energy signatures, we have pretty hard lives. Being a starseed is a super lonely experience. It feels like nobody understands you, and it feels like your family is far away in space. Starseeds have a super different energy signature than other Earthlings. Because of this, they're often diagnosed with severe mental illness because of their inability to just go about life like nothing is wrong. They can see the corruption in place very clearly. The positives are that you're usually super smart and also really psychic. And if you can learn how to master your interdimensional traveling with your conscious energy, you don't have to feel lonely and you can connect to your family in space. Also, as the internet expands on these topics, you can find other starseeds like you. Unicult, for example, is my cult full of starseeds. Tune into the next video to find out if you are a starseed.
What are the Pleiadians like? Like, what do they look like? They are high vibrational beings. They're normally coming to us from the 5th and 6th dimension, which is physical. So they haven't transcended into their light bodies yet, but they have a lot of supernatural gifts and abilities. The ones that we're connecting with are Nordic Pleiadian, but we have also seen other different types of Pleiadians on the ship as well. Humanoid looking ones. So, you know, you could pass a Pleiadian down on the street and you wouldn't even know it.
So, just as a reminder of what a human is, Genesis 2:7, and Yahuwah formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Man comes from the earth, comes from the dust of the earth, and they are different than these other beings that were created before, that celebrated in the heavens when Yah created man. As I didn't put the scriptures for that, but there are scriptures that denote that, and you can go back and look at those. Genesis 6:4, there were giants on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. In the books with Dolores Cannon, they refer to these as the old gods. Men of renown were the children of the old gods. The old gods were the people, can refer to them as angels. You can call them, you know, it's like the Greek god Zeus and all those kind of folks. They did come and make, I forget the story of Hercules. Was Hercules one of those? I know there's stories even today, movies I've seen, like this little Nephilim child in a movie I was really enjoying too, where he was a child of Zeus. Poseidon. He was a child of Poseidon or something. I don't remember. I forget these movies. I haven't watched movies in a long time. But I remember it was some kid that was like a child of Poseidon or Zeus or something. And he was finding his way and realizing this stuff. There are so many stories of this all over the place. We grew up with Greek mythology and these stories of people who were mixed between the gods and the humans. And we have movies with these stories of people who are, you know, mixed between gods and humans, and then they come and like find themselves and recognize both sides of themselves, and they get empowered and they hurrah at the end, you know. So it's not been absent from our mythology. We just kind of looked at these things as if they were not a true depiction of something. But they were there. This one's from Enoch. And it came to pass when the sons of men had increased, that in those days were born to them fair and beautiful daughters. And the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, Come, let us choose for ourselves wives from the children of men, and let us beget for ourselves children. So another testimony, and there are others, you know, that this occurred and this happened. And so the only point of this is just to share that this is something to consider that's out in the world. It's something that I'm currently learning about with reading these books and all of that. And if you haven't been made aware, that is something that is out there. And I'm going to make mention of these sometimes and other things that I talk about. And I just wanted to make sure that there was something that kind of speaks to this in a very light manner to provide an introduction.